You probably missed this over the weekend. I caught this and I'm like, really? Breaking Bad actor Dean Norris, Hollywood actor, has his own hot take when it comes to today's historic gas prices. It's the fault of capitalism, you see, not piss poor policies from this administration. Norris says, quote, "You're not getting robbed at the pump. You're paying fair market price for a commodity. If you love capitalism so much, STFU, which means shut the up." Users commented underneath his post, telling the multimillionaire he's out of touch with Americans who live paycheck to paycheck, which of course he is, and to just stick with acting instead of running his mouth. Here to discuss more about it, the host of Just the News, Not Noise, Amanda Head with me. Amanda, good to see you. Hope you had a great weekend. It's just another example of a guy who's completely out of touch. Oh, it's just, just the capitalism. It's your fault. Here's a guy who gets wealthy, becomes a multimillionaire because of capitalism, who rails on capitalism. It's so predictable, isn't it?
Oh, you peasants. Oh my gosh, you gotta love elites telling simpletons to STFU. STFU, the 2022 version of Let Them Eat Cake. This is mighty rich coming from a guy who played a Fed on a TV show. Shocking, a Fed who hates America. This is hilarious because when you consider what capitalism actually is, we actually aren't existing in a capitalistic energy market right now. If you consider, and obviously there isn't a binary choice between capitalism and socialism. There are multiple forms of each. But if you consider a distillation of capitalism versus socialism, we are existing to some degree in a market where government is controlling the means of production, because day one, when Joe Biden took office, he shut down pipelines. He is still continuing he's still continuing to reject the renewal of federal permits for drilling. These are things that the Biden administration is doing to try to manipulate the energy market. And we know that the intended consequence of all of this is that we move towards a greener energy market. My bud, that's not capitalism. And, again, it's just so rich to have someone like this complaining about capitalism and complaining about the people who are complaining about the energy markets. It's just all very rich to me. But, I do love Breaking Bad, though, so it sucks.
Yeah, so here it is. So I looked at, you look at the way this was done. First of all, the government comes in and shuts down distribution pipelines, making it much more expensive to distribute oil, gas, natural gas, all of those sorts of things, because you have to use trucks and trains and whatever else, not the pipeline. So that becomes cost prohibitive as well. Then the government comes in and shuts down drilling and exploration, as you know. Then they say, well, you've got to create more production, but you're not allowed to make too much money. We'll penalize you if you don't increase production. We'll penalize you if you try to make too much money. I mean, this is like Ayn Rand wrote this in 2020. This is like Atlas Shrugged, like right up front. It is. It really is mind-bending.
And, it's not often when you can put the cart before the horse and make it run. That only happens in a very, very small instances of situations. And here in California, that's precisely what they tried to do, what they are trying to do here in California. A lot of people don't know this because the mainstream media doesn't like to talk about it, but a lot of the wildfires that take place here in California are a direct result of the cart before the horse policy that the supermajority of Democrats in Sacramento have tried to implement on the people of California for decades. They have been moving towards this green energy market and this green energy spectrum of absorption of energy within California. And the problem is that we have a traditional electricity grid that's not being kept up because they are diverting those funds away from that to trying to implement and develop green energy. So when you've got wires hanging from the sky, when you have these power lines that are hanging down and equipment to handle those things that's not being kept up and not being repaired, then sparks fly. And they spark brush fires, and brush fires turn into wildfires. And this is what happens when as a Democrat, you try to implement policy that forces something on the American people that is not commensurate with the technology.
Yeah, and so my question then becomes, how long do we put this, how long can we put up with this? I mean, government comes in, they mess with it, they tweak it, they put in regulations, and then threaten, you've got to produce more. We can't afford the employees. You have to buy them. I mean, the same thing Pete Buttigieg said to the airlines. When his flight got canceled over the weekend, he had to actually drive like every other ordinary schmuck out there, right? And now Pete's going to fix the airlines. Well, you have to buy more employees. There aren't any. You've screwed up the labor market. I don't care. You have to. I mean, literally, these are like Ayn Rand novels. It really is. It's just to me, it's like jaw dropping. It just doesn't stop. More meddling, more problems, more demands from the government.
Yeah, it constantly feels like for people like that who are directing policy like that, it's like they have an extra hole in their head that's not supposed to be there. But unfortunately, the rest of us are being punished as a result.
Oh, completely. All right, after the break. Thank you, Amanda. As always, after the break.